Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5, Primetime Edition this week. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And today I am so excited to share with you a suite of products that honestly, if I'm really being honest, I didn't love when I first saw in the catalog. I know, I'm supposed to love it all, right? I don't love it all, but sometimes you have to play with products before you really fall in love with them. And this suite is one that is a perfect example. The Sweet Symmetry Suite, found on pages 112 and 113 in the annual catalog, is what we're focusing on this week. And I kind of looked at it in the catalog and went, not really my style. I don't know. It's just not my vibe. So, but of course, I, being a demonstrator, I ordered it anyway because I know that it would be some people's style, right? Just because it's something that I don't like doesn't mean it's something that my customers or you watching might like. So I bought it and started playing with it. And I have to say, I am falling in love with this suite. The designer series paper in this suite is spectacular. Now, at first, again, I looked at it, I was like, oh, it hurts my eyes. It's too busy. But it is absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to show you some projects today that I think are probably going to make you kind of give this suite a second look. So we are, I'm going to show you the suite, and then we're going to do 3 projects today. Just while we're getting started here, I'm going to pull up my video on my iPad and see who's watching. There's just a freeze frame. Sometimes when, your video freezes in an odd facial expression, that's what just happened on my iPad. Let's see. We've got Violet and Gail and Laura and Kelly. Thank you so much for joining me at a special time. I spent the afternoon with 2 of my colleagues from school. So teaching online, one of the hardest things about teaching online is, well, COVID really, this whole year of teaching, is that we weren't able to gather when we were at school and obviously when we were teaching online. So that collegiality, that support from colleagues and friends at work was really missing. So I had a chance this afternoon to spend some time with 2 dear friends that I work with. And it was just so good to see these women and sit and chat, which is why I opted to bump my live a little bit late, which is good because they actually left just about an hour ago. So it was a good thing that I just kind of let the conversation flow and I didn't have to kick them out so I could come and do my live at 5. So I'm glad I moved it. Had a great afternoon, and I was just saying to my husband, I need to take more time to do things like this more often because it really fills my cup. It's important, I think, for us to do things just for ourselves. So I've been taking some more time to do that over the last week or so and kind of recharge my batteries after a rather challenging year. So enough chit chat. I see Louise and Julie have joined us and Tracy. Hi, Bonnie. All right. So we've got a good group watching. I'm going to flip the camera. I'm going to show you the products that we're working with and then we're going to get to it. Okay. So give me a sec. Where's my button? They keep moving things on my phone here. There we go. And we'll flip the phone here. There we go. Make sure we've got that fairly centered. And make sure it's not going to sag on us. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of the arm here. Let me just see if I can shift that. There we go. That's a bit better. We're still going to get a bit of a shadow of the arm, but we can live with that. All right, everybody. So as I mentioned, our focus this week is the Sweet Symmetry Suite. It's on pages 112 and 113 in the Stampin' Up! Annual Catalog. Beautiful, bold, bright colors. If you are a Brights fan, you will love this suite. Really bold imagery and beautiful fonts, nice big fonts. Comes in a bundle with the stamp set and punch. So I'll show you those in a second. I'm also going to show you the DSP, which is really the sort of showstopper in this suite. So let me get this out of the way. So again, we have our bundle. The stamp set is photopolymer, so it makes it easy to line up all of these images. I'm going to show you how easy it is to make a full flower using this half flower image on one of the projects. And then I love these nice big bold fonts in the sentiment. So that's the stamp set. We have a border punch, which also can be used just as 2 little sprigs, which is actually the way I'm going to use it. So if you don't want this kind of a border, it just punches out those 2 little sprigs. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. You get 2 sprigs for the price of 1 punch, which is great. Okay, so that is the bundle. I'll set that aside. And then we have this gorgeous paper. So this, again, is 12 by 12. I cut it down so it's just easier to manage. So one side is bold, repetitive, symmetrical patterns. And really, these kind of remind me a little bit of Scandinavian designs, or designs you might see in folk art from Europe. Okay, so really fun, bold colors in the on one side. But then when we flip the DSP, as tends to be the case with Stampin' Up, we get more subtle, sort of monochromatic patterns on the back that just complement the bold patterns on the front so well. So our color palette in this paper is Bumblebee, Flirty Flamingo, Just Jade, Night of Navy, and Calypso Coral. So a really fun, bold color palette in this paper. Okay, so that is the paper. Now again, we're going to use the paper on two projects. The first project, I'm actually just featuring the stamp set because I wanted it to have a moment in the sun. So the first project we're going to work on is this one tonight. I'm going to show you how to create this easy, quick stamped background. So let's get to that. I'm going to pull out my basic white. And my color palette for this one, let me just get some stamps out here. We're going to use lots of stamps on this one. My color palette is this. So we've got Coastal Cabana, Polished Pink, Granny Apple Green, and Gorgeous Grape, which is just a fun, bold, bright color palette that I just feel works really well with the bold images in this stamp set. So we are going to start with our Polished Pink. And I have here just a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of basic white cardstock. So I'm just going to start by randomly, now I'm going to put a foam mat underneath my cardstock just because my paper pad here is getting quite thin. I'm almost out of grid paper. And with these photopolymer stamps, especially ones like this that have really bold images, I want to make sure I'm getting a good quality stamped image. And to do that with photopolymer, your surface has to have a little bit of give. You'll find if you are stamping on a surface, maybe it's a wood table or maybe you have a plastic folding table that you use to stamp on. If it's not perfectly flat with photopolymer stamps, you may not get a super great image. And that's just because these stamps have no give. Okay, they're very hard. And so we have to have the give in the surface that we're stamping on. Okay, so there are our fun, bold, polished pink flowers. Aren't they awesome? I just love that image. Then we are going to come in with our leaves and some Granny Apple Green. And we're going to add a couple of leaves to each flower. Now, this is going to be tricky because, again, I'm not looking directly down. So my leaves may end up sort of floating in space a little bit. The idea is to get them as close to the flower as we can. It's easier to do if you can look directly down on your, yeah, that one's kind of way out there in La La Land. That's okay. We got floating leaves. Maybe it's a windy day. They're blowing away. That's what I'm going with. All right, we're gonna add just a couple more here. I love the way the Granny Apple Green pops against the polished pink. It's just such a fun combination. So there are our leaves. And then I'm going to come in with my Coastal Cabana and this smaller little blossom stamp. And we're just going to add a few, whoops, let's just make sure that's well inked. And we're going to add just a few little Coastal Cabana blossoms. It is so easy to make a patterned background like this. So if you have a color scheme in mind, like I wanted to use this color scheme, but these colors are not in the DSP, right? So it's really easy to just stamp your own DSP just by taking a piece of cardstock and going to town with your stamps and ink. All right. All right, so there is our Coastal Cabana. The last little touch is this little bitty tulip. We're going to stamp a few of the tulips in Gorgeous Grape, which just, oh, it's such a yummy color. So let's just add a few of these. Now, I do like my tulips to go straight up and down. That's just a thing with me. I don't know. Maybe I need to relax a little. I don't know. I just feel like my tulips need to go straight up and down. It's just a thing. I'm going to do just a little bit of purple there and a little hint over here. And that is good. There's our stamp background. How easy was that? And I even did it while talking without screwing up. That never happens. All right, I'm gonna set this aside for a minute and we are going to build the rest of our card. So out of my little bag of goodies here, I'm gonna dump all my bits. I'll set the ribbon aside for now. So I'm going to bring in my DSP. So this is from the Pattern Party Host DSP. It's still my go-to. I love the black and white patterns in this paper. This is 1 3/4 by 4 inches. And then here I have a mat of polished pink that is 1 7/8 by 4. So you'll see when I mat this, when I layer them, I'm gonna have just a narrow little border of the pink peeking out above and below. So we're gonna go ahead and glue that down. I'm gonna use a little bit of liquid glue just so that I can wiggle it into place and make sure I have nice even borders. So I'll add just a titch of glue and pop this on. Oh, the RoboVac has started upstairs. I always forget when I do my lives later, our RoboVac is programmed to start up just after 7. So it may get a little noisy, hopefully not too bad. All right, so then I'm going to take my layered DSP and I am going to add it to the front of my card here, or my panel, my stamped panel. Now I can decide how high or low. I tend to prefer it to be a little bit below center. I don't like when I split my card right in half. Visually, it's more appealing if it's kind of 2/3. Okay, now you'll notice my cardstock is a little bit wider than my band. So I'm going to trim that just a smidge. I'm going to grab my guillotine here, a little mini trimmer. Actually, you know what? I'll glue this on first, then I'll trim it. So let's add a little bit of glue here. And this is going to go on about 1 inch up from the bottom or so. You can kind of use your discretion. I'm kind of a fan of that 2/3, 1/3 look. Okay, so you can see here I have a little bit of extra on my width on my panel here. So I'm just going to take my trimmer and trim that off. I was going through 3 layers of cardstock there. That's why I had to pound a little. But that tidied it up nice and neat. Okay. So then I'm going to add a matte behind it. I decided I like the the polished pink matte behind the DSP. And then I decided I wanted to add an extra little frame around the whole thing. So this piece is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So again, we'll add a little bit of glue and pop this on. Now I always find whenever I have really narrow borders like this, I like to use the liquid glue because it just gives me the time that I need to just make sure I get it perfectly centered. Okay. All right. So then we're going to add a little bit of ribbon. Now this is the gorgeous Grape sheer ribbon. It's so pretty. This was in the mini catalog, the January to June mini, and carried over to the annual. And I'm so glad it did because it's just yummy, yummy ribbon. Easy to work with. Really shimmery and soft. So we're gonna just snip off the roll there, add another glue dot, and wrap it. Okay, so there is my ribbon. Now I'm ready to go ahead and glue this whole thing onto my card base. So I decided on a basic black base. I really debated what color to use. I had all of the colors out trying to decide, and I just like the way the black makes the whole card pop. So this is a basic black card base. It's 4 1/4 by 11 inches, scored in the middle at 5 1/2. So we'll fold that in half along our score line. All right, who else have we got? We've got Gail and Linda and Brenda. Hi, Joyce. Hi, Gertie. Thanks for watching. All right, so we're gonna add a little bit more glue here. And we're gonna pop this on. Now, I always glue my cards on purposely with the whole thing upside down. I find it easier to get it straight. Don't ask me why. I'm a little odd that way. That's just the way I roll. There's nothing special. There's no secret. It's just the way I do it. I don't know. All right, so there's our base. Now we need to work on our sentiment label. So this is just a little label cut with the Tasteful Labels dies. If you've watched my videos before, you know that I use them pretty much every week. They are a staple. Everybody should have these dies. They are super versatile, so many different shapes. They're awesome. So I'm using my Thanks So Much stamp from the stamp set and some black ink, and I'm just going to stamp "Thanks so much" in the center of my label. Then I'm going to bring back a couple of the colors that we used on our background. We're just going to add a little hint of some of the images on our label. I'm a big fan of no blank labels. I like adding, before I do that, let's get our pad. I like adding just a little something to my labels just to kind of tie them in with what's going on the rest of the card. It's just kind of a thing I do. It's not for everybody, but it's just kind of my thing. So we'll add a little bit of pink and a little bit of Coastal Cabana, and then we're going to add a titch of green. Just a little bit of a leaf here. There we go. See what I mean? It's just like a little hint of the images. I don't want to take away or overpower the sentiment, but just a little bit just kind of ties everything together, I find. All right, so I wanted to have this pop a little bit more against my black gingham. So I punched a label. The name of this escapes me right now. It's Label Me Pretty or Label Me Lovely. It's one of the two. Out of gorgeous grape cardstock. And I'm going to layer it behind my die cut label. And you're going to see, just see how there's just a little bit peeking out above and below. And that just a little subtle bit, I find, just adds a little bit more pop and sets off our label a little bit. So we're going to add, hi Judy, hi Claire, hi Jill. Thanks for joining me tonight at an odd time. All right, so there we go. Now we're going to add just a couple of little sprigs. So these are the little sprigs that come out of the punch when you punch with them. So that you get two, it's like a border, right? So you can either use the border or not. I just like these little shapes. I think they're really cute little sprigs. So we're going to add just a little bit of seal to the corner, and we're just going to have them sort of peeking out from behind the label. Just a couple little sprigs. Happy little sprigs. Any Bob Ross fans out there? Happy little trees, happy little sprigs. All right, we're going to add a couple of dimensionals to the back of our label. Hi Linda, how are you doing? Thanks for joining me tonight. All right, so let's pop this on. And I'm going to do it a little bit to the left. Okay, again, I'm not a big fan of things centered. I know this is called in symmetry, and symmetry is really important to some people. I am just not one of those people, which maybe is one of the reasons this set initially didn't appeal to me. All right, so we're going to tie a bow using that same ribbon. So I'm going to pinch 2 loops. Okay, the key to tying a nice square bow is making sure that your ribbon doesn't twist. So they're keeping it flat, crossing my left loop over the right, and pulling it through. Okay, now that's a pretty ugly bow, right? And some people would look at that and go, oh, I can't tie bows. Well, you know what? You have to tease the bow out of the ribbon. So we're just going to kind of play with the ribbon a little bit, adjust our loops, pull them tight, adjust again, pull them tight until we get something that we're happy with. Okay, now that's a much cuter bow, isn't it? So let's trim off our tails. We'll set that aside and bring in a glue dot. And we're just going to press the knot of our bow into a glue dot. And that's just going to get glued right where the tag, or the label rather, meets the ribbon in the background. Okay, so it looks like it's tied, right? All right, the last little touch is to add some of these matte black dots. These are just, again, a little pop. Because the background is so colorful, I wanted to use a neutral color to sort of ground these little embellishments. I sometimes find when you're using a whole bunch of different colors that are really bright, using a neutral embellishment really helps to kind of ground the card. But there we go. There's our finished card. You like that one? I hope so. All right, let me clean a couple stamps because I'm going to need a couple of these for our next card. This one I don't need, so we'll put that one back. And we'll get that out of the way and that out of the way. Okay, moving on to number 2. Don't need the black ink either. Let's get that. All right, so this is the one that I posted earlier today. This fun fold is so easy, but is such a cool wow. Now, this is entirely about the DSP, really. You could just do the DSP and slap a sentiment on there and be done with it. I added a few flowers, but you could totally get away without doing that. So it folds flat for mailing, okay? I want to point out the fact that you see how, the way this is folded, do you see how the pattern lines up perfectly? That totally excited me when I realized that, which is why I had to show you this card. So when you open it, it opens like this. It's a gatefold, okay? So it kind of stands up like that. You get a little bit of a diorama effect when you're looking at it straight on, but it kind of interlocks when it's closing. So it's kind of a cool little fold. Super easy. So I'm going to show you how to do it, okay? All right. Oh, you like that one, Diane? Thank you. Thanks, Louise. Thanks, Linda. Thanks, Debbie. All right, so I'm starting with a 5 1/4, important, 5 1/4 by 12 inch. So it's almost a half sheet of the DSP. So you're cutting 3/4 of an inch off, okay? So 5 1/4, sorry, 5 1/4, you're cutting 3/4 of an inch off from a 6 by 12. So 5 1/4 by 12, okay? 5 1/4 by 12. So I'm going to flip this over so it's a little bit easier to see. I'm going to score on the less busy side. I'm going to bring in my trimmer. And we are going to start by scoring. Let me just open out the arm here. We are going to score starting at 2. So we're going to go 2. Get that in nice and straight. So 2. And then slide over to 4. Again, making sure it's nice and straight. And then we're going to 8. And then to 10. So 2, 4, 8, and 10 are our score lines. All right. I'm not sure how well they show. 2, 4, 8, and 10. Do they show better on that side? No. I didn't think they would. All right. So I'm going to keep this out for just a sec. Actually, no, I'll probably use my guillotine. Now, next thing I need to do is fold these score lines, because by folding them, it's going to make them easier to see. So I'm going to start by folding this first 4-inch one. Burnish that really well. You just want to make sure it's nice and straight. Okay, your edges line up. And then at this 2-inch one, I'm going to fold back. And again, we want to make sure that our edges are nice and straight. Okay, again, now I'm doing this backwards. Eventually I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to fold it the other way, but I'm just doing it this way so you can see. It's a little bit easier on the less busy side. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to fold over to 4. Again, I want to make sure that all of my edges line up and burnish really well. And then bring it back at the 2-inch one. Now this is where we really want to make sure that those folds in the middle meet. Okay, so we have a nice close fit there. Okay, so that's the way it stands up. Now I am going to flip this over because I do want this pattern side on the inside of my card, but that shows you it's a little bit easier to see when it's not the really busy pattern. Okay, now the next step is to take and do some measuring. So I'm going to measure on each of these little panels from the top corner down 2 3/8 inches. So I'm just going to take my ruler. I would do this on my grid paper, but I thought this might be easier to see. So 2 and 1, 2, 3/8. So I'm going down to here. Okay, can you see that little tick mark? I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So from the top down to 2 1/4, 2 3/8. Okay, so far so good. Next, I'm going to come back in with my trimmer. And that first fold, I'm going to line up right where that fold is with that little tick mark in my cutting track. So here's the fold. There's my tick mark. I'm going to close and cut. Okay. Don't throw this away. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So here's my fold. Here's my tick mark. I'm going to line the two up in my cutting track and cut. Okay, again, save those little bits. Okay, so that gives you your fold. Now, as I said, I'm going to flip this over because I really love that patterned paper, and I want to show you how the pattern on this DSP lines up perfectly when you fold it. So let me fold this back. Just make sure that's nice and snug. Look at that. Can you see that? Do you see how perfectly the pattern lines up? Does that not excite you? It totally excites me. It doesn't take much, let me tell you. I thought that was so, so cool. All right, so these two little triangles that we cut off, we are going to adhere in each corner at the bottom. That's going to give us that diamond focal point. Isn't that cool? So nothing goes to waste on this one. So we'll just add a little bit of liquid glue here. It is awesome, Sue. Thanks. I think it's just that I was so excited when I discovered that the pattern lined up perfectly. It made my day. I got to tell you, it doesn't take much to make my day. All right, let's add a little bit of glue to this guy and pop it on here. Let's make sure we're nice and straight. Okay, and there is our fold. How easy was that? All right, so to give this a little bit more strength, we are going to give it a cardstock backing. All right, so this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It's a quarter sheet of cardstock. This is just Jade, and we're gonna go ahead and glue this on so it's centered on our DSP. Or sorry, DSP is centered on our cardstock. I'm gonna use a bit of tape for this. Doesn't really matter what adhesive you use. No, Robovac's right over my head. I can hear it. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it's pretty loud. All right, there we go. Okay, so there's our card base. Isn't that spectacular? Seriously, you could just add a little sentiment and be done. Like, it's just such fantastic DSP. All right, so now let's decorate. So we're gonna pull in our other bits. I've already gone ahead and stamped and fussy cut all of these, but I am going to show you how to stamp this large flower. Because if you recall, in the stamp set, it's only a half flower, right? It's just half a one. So I'm going to show you just how easy it is to line this up. So let me bring back my little pad here. And I'm going to set this guy aside for a minute. And we're using Calypso Coral ink. So we're going to ink up our stamp, and I'm just stamping on some white cardstock here. So we're going to stamp, ooh, that's not a great image. Didn't do a very good job of inking that. Let's try that again. That's going to be better, a bit. And then we are going to just flip it upside down. Now this is where you really need to be looking right down at the image, but it is perfectly symmetrical. So I'm looking at, see this little semicircle here? And the semicircle on the center of the stamp. So I'm basically lining that little semicircle up with the semicircle in the center of the stamp. And again, I'm going to try and do this without, well, I'm going to move it closer. You guys may not be able to see very well, but we're going to try and line this up so that I can show you. There you go. Not bad. There's my flower. Okay. So easy to make a full flower with that half flower image. Okay. All right, so there is my flower. As I said, I've already done all of my stamping and fussy cutting. So that one was stamped in Calypso Coral. These two little guys were stamped in Bumblebee. And then my leaves were stamped in Just Jade. And then I have some more punched little sprigs. Okay, so all we really need to stamp on this one is our sentiment. So I'm going to pull in my Night of Navy ink. Now I should mention, if you want to see the full color palette for this paper, whoops, got to flip this guy around, is here. So Flirty Flamingo, Just Jade, Calypso Coral, Bumblebee, and Night of Navy. Okay, such an awesome combo. So I'm going to pull in my Night of Navy. Hi, Martine. Hi, Claire. It is pretty exciting that it lines up. I know. All right, so I have here a circle that I think is 1 3/4. It's cut using the layering circle dies. So I'm going to stamp You Are Perfectly Unique, which I think is the perfect sentiment for this unique card. And we're going to layer that on a 2-inch circle, 2-inch-ish circle in Just Jade. So we'll add just a little bit of adhesive there. Hi, Carol. Thanks for joining me. So we're going to just center our circle. And then it's just a matter of adhering all of our bits. Now, you want to make sure when you're gluing all of your pieces on that you're not gluing your card shut, right? Because we want this sort of interlocking action. So we have to be just strategic and careful when we're applying our adhesive to make sure that we get our glue where we want it. Okay, so I have 2 of these larger leaves. We're going to add them to the large flower. So we've got 1 and 2. So just going to add them there, and then we're going to add a couple of sprigs I'm all about the bouquets. It's not just about, you know, a single flower. You gotta have an arrangement. All about the arranging. So there is our flower. Okay, it's gonna go on kind of like that. All right, so I popped these up. So I'm gonna put my dimensionals on my left panel of my gatefold. Okay, just to make sure that I don't glue my card shut. So I'm gonna kind of go 1, 2, 3. Now I'm gonna take a second and make sure that that's gonna give me what I need. Yep, that's perfect. So we're gonna get rid of our backings. And we're just gonna pop that on. Just like that, okay? And our card still opens. We're in good shape. All right. Okay, next we are going to arrange our little yellow blossoms here around the sentiment, okay? Because the sentiment is going to kind of interlock with the large flower. The large flower is going to tuck behind it. So we kind of have to make sure we're arranging our little blossoms so that it doesn't interfere with that, okay? So I'm going to add just a little bit of tape to my sentiment. So we'll put this guy here. Yep, that works. And then another little bit of tape down here. And we'll try that. Yep, that might be over a little more. Let's try it this way. That's better. And then again, I've got a couple of leaves. So we'll just add a couple of leaves, 1 to each flower. So again, I want to make sure, because this is going to be, I don't want my leaf to kind of be going up off the page, right? So this is going to go here. I might need to, actually, you know what? We're going to put this one up high like that so that we can still get our card in our envelope. We'll put one there. And then again, we're going to add a couple of sprigs. Maybe one there. I love flower arranging. It's so much fun, even when they're paper flowers. And we'll add this guy there. Okay, so that's going to go on right about there. And again, we need to place our dimensionals in such a way that it's not going to interfere with the opening and closing of our card. Okay, so I'm going to put a dimensional here and here and one down here. So kind of along that outside edge so that when I close my card, this little flower can still tuck in behind. Okay, now I've got a little bit of adhesive here that I need to rub off because it's going to catch my flower. There we go. We'll get rid of that. And then get rid of our backings. And we're going to pop this on right about there, I think. Yep, that totally works. You see how that works? Super easy. And then final touch, we're not putting a bow on this. Shocking, I know. Actually, both these last 2 cards are bowless. I know, I have lost my mind. But we are gonna add some of these little square in color embellishments. I just thought that the diamond shape kind of worked with the diamond background on the DSP. So that was my thinking. I don't know, my brain works in some weird ways sometimes. You don't want to live inside my head. There we go. All right, so there are our embellishments. All right, then on the inside, I'm not going to decorate, but I did want to show you, I added just a stitched rectangle on the inside. I didn't want to put a full cardstock panel because I didn't want to cover up too much of that gorgeous DSP pattern. So I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive to this. This is cut using the stitched rectangle dies. So we're just going to plop that in there. And there's our finished card. Isn't that easy? Like crazy easy fun fold, and such an awesome way to showcase both sides of our gorgeous DSP. All right, so there is card number 2. Hope you like that one. Clean up my mess here a bit, and then we're gonna get on to number 3. Number 3 is my favorite. As much as I like number 2, don't get me wrong, I like number 2 a lot, but this is my fave for sure. All right, so number 3, I have jumped on the Pinwheel Tower fold bandwagon. I've been seeing this fold. This is the one that stands up like this, okay? I've seen this all over social media the last couple of weeks, so I decided to jump on it. Now, this one is a landscape orientation. Most of the ones I've seen have been portrait, up and down. But this one is a landscape. I thought I'd try something a little bit different. It is so stinking easy. Like, honestly, so easy. So the cool thing about this is there's sort of 4 sides that you get to decorate. So this folds flat. It fits in a standard envelope. Okay. So it stands, so first sort of facing is like that. Then it goes to here. Okay. Then it goes to here. And then finally a spot to write a message. All right, so kind of a fun thing. Now, one thing that I did want to mention, many people have been using cardstock for sort of their tower in the center. I find that makes it really bulky. So I'm actually using DSP. It's kind of a switch. I like the DSP because it's much less bulky and it fits in the envelope much better. And I could actually use dimensionals on my card. Which, you know, it's a requirement for me. So this is the one we're going to make. Super easy. Like, if you haven't made one of these yet, oh my goodness, you're going to want to go away from this and try it because it really, really is so easy. So let me dump out all my bits here and get the ones that really matter. So, well, they all matter, but to form the foundation of our card, we literally need this. It's like nothing. So this is a 4 by 4 1/4 inch piece of DSP. You can use whatever DSP you like. I used the same one that I used on my card. Now, one mistake that I did make, I wanted the blue, this blue, to be what was visible on the inside. I did it wrong side out. So I'm going to make that correction, I hope, while we're doing this version. So I see the blue when I look down inside rather than this side. Okay. So again, 4 by 4 1/4. And then I have 4 of the exact same size. This is 4 1/4 by 2 3/4. 4 1/4 by 2 3/4. And there's 4 of them. Okay, that's it. Like, seriously. So again, I'm going to bring in my trimmer. And I just want to make sure I have the 4 1/4 inch size at the top. Yep. So I'm going to start scoring. Okay, I'm going to score at 1 inch. Make sure that's nice and straight. This is the only part. You want to make sure that your measurements are accurate or you're not going to get a perfect square. Okay. So 1 inch. And then again at 2 inches. And 3 inches. And 4 inches. And honestly, that's it. Like, so stinking easy. Now again, you're probably not gonna be able to see those score lines really well on the camera. I'll flip it over. You might be able to see them a little bit better. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this little 1/2 inch is gonna kind of be our tab that allows us to form our tower, okay? So again, we're gonna fold right side out, Louise, and fold this one over, and fold this one over. Again, making sure we're straight. Don't want to work so fast that we get a crooked tower. All right, and then again, we're going to add a little bit of glue. This time I'm going to use a bit of liquid glue just because I have a bit more control with where I put it. And then I like to just fold one side over and then fold the other one on top, and it lines up every time. Okay, so there is my tower. We are going to add some glue, and we're going to layer one of these. Now you want to go right up to the folds on each side. Just make sure your edges line up. Okay, and then we're gonna rotate. Oh, got dimensional backing stuck to my finger. And add another one. Again, right up to the fold. It's harder to see the fold when we're on the lighter side. There we go. And another one. And our last one. Just like that. All right, that's it. How easy is that? Like, so easy, especially when you get the measurements right the first time. Okay, so there is our pinwheel. Now it's just a matter of decorating. Okay, so you're going to decide which side you want to be your front. Doesn't really matter. not crazy about that little gap. So I think we'll start with that. We're going to cover that up. All right. So we have here, I've got all sorts of pieces. I wanted to showcase the DSP. So I chose 3 patterns that I thought worked well together. So this Flirty Flamingo pattern, this one that has a bit of the flamingo and the navy, and then the plain navy. So I have found with this paper, having a busy pattern with a more subtle pattern works really well. 2 busy patterns, too much. Okay. All right. So we're going to start, this panel is going to go right here. So these are 2.5 by 4. All right. So we're going to add a bit of glue. It is quite sturdy with the DSP core, Mary. It stands up just fine. I haven't had any issues with it. I've been playing with this one for a couple of days, and it stands up just fine. Yeah, I just like that it's not quite so bulky, using DSP instead of cardstock. That's just my it's easier to mail with the DSP. All right, so there's that. We're going to add one of the busier patterns. This is 1.25 by 4. 1.25? 1.5 by 4. I'll put all these measurements up in the video description afterwards, so you have them all. You don't have to try and write everything down or remember. So we'll add that there. Okay, then we're going to flip, and we're going to add one of the pink, the Flirty Flamingo. So again, this is 2.5 by 4. All of these panels are the same size, right? Because each one of these little sections, each time you flip it, is the same dimensions. And then we're going to do a blue, I think. Yeah, blue on this side. Come on. So we'll add that guy there. Okay, and then flip, and what did I do on this side? Oh, this is where we put our Wowza DSP. So we're going to add that one on the large panel. The cool thing about this DSP too is that it's really non-directional. Like you can kind of have it go any which way. Because the patterns are symmetrical, it doesn't matter. You have to worry about it. Now this one, obviously you'd probably want your tulips facing upwards, but this one totally doesn't matter. It's great. So we'll add this guy here. And now this is our last one. So here we're going to add a strip of the busier stuff, and then we're going to add our white, but we're going to do some stamping on it first. So I'm not going to glue that down. That's going to be where we can write our message. So we'll add that. Okay. Now, I don't think I'm going to take the time actually to do all of the stamping and finish assembling this. You kind of get the idea. You can decorate the card however you'd like. I will show you the sample again, so you can see what I did, but you don't need to watch me stamp all this. Honestly. So again, I started with this side. So these labels are actually a sneak peek from the upcoming mini catalog. These are the seasonal labels dies, and I am loving them. There's always a label set that I gravitate to, and this is the one in this mini, I think. So I love them because they're just perfectly sized for these little panels, right? So again, I stamped my Hey Friend in navy, added some flowers. Now I did do a little bit of ombre stamping here. I inked my stamp with Flirty Flamingo and then applied some Calypso Coral with a sponge dauber, okay, to get that two-tone effect on the flower. And I really wanted to make sure that I was aware of what was peeking through from the next panel, okay? So I wanted them to coordinate. So when we flip, we have, again, another sentiment. I did 2 of the smaller labels because I wanted to put something on this skinny panel, and it fits perfectly on that little panel. So some little blossoms in Flirty Flamingo and some greenery in the Just Jade. And then again, when we flip, I stamped my sentiment towards the left side because I didn't want to see part of the sentiment when I had this panel open. I just wanted to see the flowers. So I just was really careful. Now this sentiment is a combination of 2 sentiment stamps in this set. This sentiment actually, if I grab the stamp, says best day ever. Okay, but I wanted to use the word friend. So from the Hey Friend stamp, I simply inked up the word friend. So I inked best, stamped it, inked friend, stamped it, and inked ever and stamped it. Okay, so that's how I got that sort of sentiment that isn't part of the set but really is. Fun way to just kind of get a little bit more mileage from your stamps. Again, another little stamped blossom and some greenery. And then on my final panel, this is where I would write my greeting. Just stamped a few more of the little blossoms and some greenery, and that's that. Okay, I will finish putting this card together when I'm off camera, but again, I just didn't want to take the time to do all that stamping because I knew you guys know how to stamp. You don't need me to show you all of that. But really this fun fold is it's such a wow, it's so cool and such a fun way to showcase the DSP and lots of different surfaces to decorate. So lots and lots of fun. Give that one a try. All right. Okay, let me bring back all of our projects for today. There we go. Hope you like those. I will post all of the measurements and scoring instructions for everything. Just after I finish up this video, I'll go up and edit the post so that you've got all of them. And if you want to give these a try, go for it. This one especially is so fun. I know a few people out there might have a few sheets of DSP kicking around their craft room, so you may want to give this one a try. It's a great way to use up DSP so you can buy more because the new mini's coming, right? All right, everybody, that is it for me for now. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Have a great evening. Thanks for joining me at this special time. Now, next week, I'm going to be starting my countdown to Celebration because Celebration 2.0 is coming starting August 3rd. So next week, I'll be starting my countdown. So you'll hear more about that. I'll be posting about it on my Facebook page here throughout the week. But basically, I will be featuring a different Celebration product each day, posting lots of projects and a video. Now, some of them will be live, some of them won't, because I have a few other things going on next week. I have my first in-person private class in almost 2 years booked. So I won't be able to do lives every day, but I will have a video for you showcasing a project that uses each one of the Celebration stamp sets and DSP. So there's lots of good stuff coming in Celebration. All right, that's it for me. I am done chit-chatting. Have a fantastic evening, and I will see you next week for Countdown to Celebration. Bye for now.